Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. I am your host Morrigan, and today we are going to be reacting to Why Do They Hate Sydney Sweeney by Shoe on Head. So a lot of you guys have loved my Shoe on Head reaction video, so I figured I would do another one. But before we get started with today's reaction, I have some pretty exciting news. For those of you that have either paid attention to my channel, because I do make posts on here once in a while on YouTube, and or my Twitter, you will have seen that I actually have commissioned somebody to make me 3 new models for my character. Now, the models that I currently use right now are very PG, right? Kid-friendly models. And I basically just used a site online called Charat to make these models. And I was like, well, I'd like to get a more, like, I guess you could say, average VTuber kind of model. But at the same time, I still wanted to be in a PNG format. So I did find somebody that is going to make me those 3 models. So I paid them around like $400 something. So those models will be done by November 20th, if I'm correct. So we still got a few months before I debut some new models for you guys, but I figured I would share the exciting news that I do have some new models coming. But without that big announcement out of the way, let's get right into the reaction.
So if you've been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard that Sydney Sweeney was in an American Eagle commercial.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Get it? Genes? Genes? Because she's attractive? And she is. I can see why men like her. She has a really cute face and a nice body. But personally, my favorite thing about Sydney Sweeney is that she's a Nazi. Did they mean to include a bunch of Nazi dog whistles in this? How the f did she agree to this? Actual Nazi ad. The only way Sydney Sweeney would be okay with doing an ad like this is if she was a Nazi.
This is Nazi shit.
You know, I swear the more time that I spend on the internet doing these reaction videos, I really start to notice how unhealthy terminally online people are. So for those of you that somehow don't know about this whole advertisement reaction online of the whole Sydney Sweeney situation, basically American Eagle put out a jeans advertisement, and they had Sydney Sweeney talk about her genetics in terms of, like, you know, oh, she's a good looking, you know, hot, attractive woman. And she's also doing the play on words with, oh yeah, these American Eagle jeans are like really good, you know, and they make you look good. So they kind of did like this compare and contrast thing, which I think is pretty clever for a marketing move. But of course you have these online weirdos that take anything that has to do with either, you know, traditional femininity, attractive women, even traditional lifestyles, basically anything that goes against the grain of modernism in any kind of way, and they have to label it either like misogyny or, in this case, Nazi propaganda, which I think is pretty funny that these people online equate Sydney Sweeney talking about the fact that she has good genes and that's why she's attractive to Nazi propaganda. It's a very far reach. I mean, it's basic biology, you know. And as somebody that, you know, works out, and I would say myself has good genes, I find this to be very funny. You know, it's hard for me to take anything like this serious, because there is a clear, like, if you look at the people complaining about this whole thing, there's a common theme. That's all that I'm gonna say, right? I'm not gonna go to, you know, ham on a quote-unquote insult, if you will, but it speaks for itself. You just look at the people that say, oh, Sydney Sweeney must be a Nazi because she's talking about her genes and she has blonde hair and blue eyes. And, you know, you look at them and you're like, yeah, I can see why they're mad. But I'm sorry, the beginning of this video I just find to be too funny.
About the ad.
That is being racist.
Some of you guys might be too young to remember, but back in the day when an ugly girl was jealous of a pretty girl, she would simply call her a whore. But that's a good thing now, so we have to call her racist. I am going to be completely honest, I have no idea what movies Sydney Sweeney is in. All I know, she is a very popular celebrity, and I always see discourse on Twitter about her being...
I do have to say, though, Shu does bring up a really good point here in the fact that back in the day, if a girl was someone that you didn't like, or if you were ugly and there was an attractive girl, you would just say that she's a whore, or that she's a slut, or something like that. And then today, because apparently those terms are empowering, if you will, we have to call people racist or something along those lines. So that is a very good observation by Shu, and I very much agree with that because, you know, times have changed and words and their meanings have different standings in society than they used to. So yeah, I do find that pretty hysterical, though, where it's like back in the day, it's like, yeah, she's a whore, but now it's like, oh no, she's racist. It's just, oh man. Modern day, you know, restructuring of words kind of has broken my brain a little bit. And personally, I think we just need to go back to the old days. It was much simpler back then.
Mid. What is wrong with you people? Who is not mid nowadays? I saw Anne Hathaway get called mid the other day. Anne Hathaway. If these...
This is another funny point of a lot of attractive female actresses being called mid. It's like, okay, so there's two different kind of camps that do this. You have like the incel camp, which will call women mid because they have a hard time getting girls, and it's kind of like their way of coping, if you will. But then there's also like the really ugly women that will call these women mid to also try to cope. So there is normally two sides to that, where it's incels or femcells that attack these women. And kind of the same thing actually when we talk about like attractive men, femcells and incels will attack those men in different ways. Like the women will say that they're like toxically masculine or something like that, and then for the men, they'll be like, oh well, all he has going for him is like he's good looking or has money or something like that. So ultimately, right, I think instead of encouraging this, you know, internet behavior of trying to cope with where you're lacking, it should be improving where you're lacking. Because anybody has the ability to improve themselves, you know, how they physically look, and how they feel internally. But the first step to that is acknowledging that number one, that there is something wrong and that there is a way to fix it. And that doesn't mean that people, you know, if everybody were to go to the gym or start using makeup or plastic surgery or whatever way you want to, you know, go about quote unquote fixing yourself, it's not going to give the same results to everybody, but you still become a better version of yourself, if that makes sense. And then that makes you appeal more to people around you. A little bit of a tangent from what Shu was saying, but I figured it would be, you know, kind of a good thought to throw in there.
Women are mid. I'm like a sub-zero. I'm like a -2. I am like a horseshoe crab on the bottom of the ocean. Horseshoe crabs are pretty base, though. 445 million years, no evolution. That's me. Millions of years on YouTube, no evolution. Sydney Sweeney has like a fun, bubbly personality. She seems like she enjoys being feminine, and it seems like she doesn't hate men, which is a big plus. She really plays into the like, I'm a hot blonde bombshell, I have big titties thing, which, are we back to liking titties as a society? Didn't Kim Kardashian deflate her ass recently? That's how I knew the ass fad was over. The fall of Kim Kardashian's ass and the rise of Sydney Sweeney. Besides, ass, no, I don't objectify women. I respect women, okay? The only thing that matters to me is a woman's mind. And thighs. What is like the male body equivalent to this debate? Abs or arms? Personally, I love a good forearm. I love a good, nice, thick, manly wrist. And you know what looks great on a wrist? A watch. Which brings us to today's sponsor, Holtzkern. So let's quickly give them a shout out before we get into... And now, let's get back to it. My jeans are brown. Sounds like I shit my pants.
The woke outrage over Sydney Sweeney's ad has gone from Well, bad to worse?
Some people have taken issue with the phrase great genes being used over images of a blonde, blue-eyed woman.
If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
TikTok and
The fact that you have the President of the United States reacting to the Sydney Sweeney ad, what timeline am I living in where the President, okay, the most powerful man on the earth, how is he, of all people, taking time out of his day to react or talk about the Sydney Sweeney ad? That is absolutely insane to me that is even possible. I mean, I know we live in crazy times, but every day my mind is blown by just how crazy the world is.
Twitter absolutely blew up with thousands and thousands of people calling this ad fascist propaganda. Yes, they literally took the jeans and jeans pun to be some kind of Nazi dog whistle because Sydney Sweeney is an attractive blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, which apparently has been an extinct species for so long in advertisement that when people saw this, they got scared and thought they saw the ghost of Hitler. Is Sydney Sweeney a Nazi? No. But do these people kind of have a point about this ad? Also no, they are unwell. But let's hear them out. Let's watch some of these TikToks. Let's listen to them, listen to their points. We're not gonna be mean. We're not gonna own the libs, okay? We are going to hear them out.
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it. That's Nazi propaganda.
Holy.
Starting off strong here with the first reaction from TikTok, another great place on the internet to be, if not on Twitter. You see what I mean by there's a common theme amongst the people that do not like this ad? As we go through the rest of these, I can guarantee you there will be a few different things that we will probably see. Colored hair, someone that's overweight, nose rings, a bunch of tattoos, or crazy eyes. Like psycho kind of eyes. And I swear by the end of this, if I get all of them right, like to all the things that I just listed as the people giving negative reactions, then it goes to show it's very easy to tell without having to see who are the ones being offended.
The 2014 Tumblr, what the f***? Out here looking like she walked straight out of a Stone Toss comic. Looking like you're going on the thumbnail of this video. Listen, if your bangs end in the middle of your forehead, you don't have to tell me your political opinions. I know them. I can tell. Okay, sorry. I got it out of my system. Let's continue.
I will be the friend that's too woke because those Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ads are weird. Like fascist weird. Like Nazi propaganda weird.
So this
Wow, 2 for 2. What did I say? Man, this one's actually 2 of the things that I said. Overweight and the nose ring. And if you want to just, throw some things in here just to add on to the list, the flag in the back. Like I said, the people that react to all these ads and stuff in a negative way it's very easy to tell and to think of in your mind the archetype of the kind of people getting mad at this ad. It's honestly so easy. Like at this point, you could wager bets on this kind of stuff. It's that easy.
Commercial was apparently a reference to an old Brooke Shields commercial from the 80s.
The secret of life lies hidden in the genetic code. Genes are fundamental in determining the characteristics of an individual and passing on these characteristics to succeeding generations. This may result in the origin of an entirely new species, which brings us to Calvin's and the survival of the fittest.
Calvin Klein jeans.
Oh my god, she turns into a swastika. She was like 14 in that ad, by the way. Really creepy. So at least Sydney Sweeney is of legal age. 14 is actually pretty old for Brooke Shields if you know her history and her lore. If anything, that is the most f***ed up thing about this Sydney Sweeney ad, referencing an old ad of a child star who was abused by Hollywood. But yeah, it was a callback to an old commercial. And Sydney Sweeney is the current day hot celebrity, so they chose to do it with her. They unfortunately failed to consider the fact that in current year, white people are not allowed to say that they have good genes because that is Nazi propaganda.
A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
You don't get to drop lines about inherited traits, blue eyes, and great genes while zooming in on somebody that could have walked straight off of a Nazi propaganda poster.
A white. Wow, guys, I stand corrected. There's actually one person within this whole thing that actually looks semi-normal, I'll say. I mean, I guess you could debate that those eyes might be psycho eyes, but yeah. Kind of surprising that there's one normal-ish looking person in here. But at the same time, though, she looks like she's on the older side of the coin, and that's another thing I guess I should have brought up too, is older women will get very pissed off with younger women for looking younger and more attractive. You know, this whole thing called biology. So I find it very funny how all of a sudden it's like, yeah, no, this woman looks kind of normal. Oh, wait, she's older. Now it starts to make sense. I probably should have added that one onto the list. My bad, guys. That's my fault.
Blonde. Don't raise dragons right off the bat. For new players, at the start of the game, don't rush to raise.
Blue-eyed, Hitler's wet dream, talking about how much she loves her genetics. It's not just giving eugenics, it's giving male fantasy.
I like how eugenics and being attractive to men are like equally terrible things to these people.
Sydney Sweeney's jeans ad is giving ethnic state propaganda. It is giving dystopian. It is giving 1940s Germany.
Why do they all speak the same? Why do they all do the same?
You know, I just find it really funny that I just get all these right. Like, it's really sad that I can just picture in my head who is giving these kinds of reviews or their takes on things, and I just know who they are. But the funny thing is they all say the same thing. Like, there's nothing unique about any of their opinions. And some people could say, well, VTubers all give pretty much similar opinions, but we're all different and we have our different quirks, right? So one of my favorite VTubers is Alana, or Smug Alana. And she's like a frost fox as her VTuber model, and she, you know, laughs a lot and she's very boisterous. And then you have another VTuber who would be Alara, and she's like a heavy metal elf VTuber, smaller than Smug Alana, but and she also has like what I would call like an ADHD kind of stream where there's just a bunch of stuff going on. And it's kind of overstimulating. And then you have someone like Dragon Spit that's a lot more, you know, toned down, kind of serious, and reacts to much different kinds of content than Alara or Smugalana. And that's the thing, right? Like, VTubers, while maybe they have similar opinions, it seems like they all have their own, like, different personalities and stuff. Like, I would say my personality is kind of more on the calm, relaxed side and not as chaotic. But that's what makes me different than some other VTubers. And that's the thing, when you look at VTubers, not only is it their models that distinguish them from the rest of the people, but it's also the personalities. But when you listen to these people talking about the Sydney Sweeney Jean thing and how she's doing Nazi propaganda, they all say the exact same thing. There is nothing unique about them. And the fact that you have like this, you know, pictured, conjured up, you know, image in your head as to who these people are and what they look like is honestly just very sad. I really wish people just gave a unique perspective and not just saying the same thing. But, you know, we live in a world where that's just not the case, unfortunately. So I think I'm not going to react to the rest of this video. Looking ahead, a lot of the people are just kind of making, you know, similar points to what we've already heard, and they all look the same. So basically what I was saying earlier, that you can just tell how these people are and what they believe based upon how they look. But also at the same time, the other segments later on aren't particularly in the Sydney Sweeney whole situation. But so I guess for my closing thoughts, we are looking at the fringes of the internet, but whoever did make this American Eagle ad deserves a huge raise because it made their stocks absolutely shoot up, and a lot of people started ordering American Eagle after the fact. But at the end of the day, I think companies are starting to realize that you can't cater to this fringe online minority because simply they're crazy and they really don't care about your product anyways to begin with. They're just people online that want to complain and find something to be outraged about. And that's how it's always been for this kind of group of people, right? And like I said, as somebody who, you know, works out and who is decent-ish looking, I would say that, you know, when it comes to these kind of ads and stuff, it only incentivizes us to want to go and like buy the product more. And it's nice to see that, you know, companies are not afraid to go back and put attractive people in ads, because at the end of the day, you're trying to sell a product. And in order to do that, you want to, you know, use people that are going to make the product look the best or give it the most recognition. And therefore people will go buy said product. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think the ad was great. I think that these people are lunatics and they need to go touch some grass. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all in the next one.